Well, hi, Robert.
Hi, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too, and thank you so much for welcoming us in Peters Fraser and Dunlop offices here in London. They're beautiful.
It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for coming.
So, for our listeners who don't know about PFD yet, can you give us a little bit of background on the agency, maybe?
Yes, we're one of the longest established and biggest agencies in London at the moment. And we represent a whole range of writers. We also have literary estates, which is one of the reasons we came towards digital publishing.
Right.
We own and partially own mainly crime estates, and it's through the interest in exploiting them further that we came to form IPSO and get involved in digital publishing. We also have a film and television department here. We have a television, radio, non-fiction documentary department. So we like to provide something that services all the author's needs. And again, this is what led us towards digital publishing too.
Yeah, so you're cross-media, really.
Yes, we think as a bigger agency, one of the things that people look for in that is a broader range of representation. And I think if you're going to be a responsible agent in all those arenas, then you need to make sure that you're doing it properly. So that's what we aim to do.
Definitely. So you are a senior agent here at PFD and also COO of the company, right?
That's correct, yes. I came to join PFD 8 years ago. I brought a list at that time, mainly journalists and fiction. And then over the years I increased in seniority, and 4 years ago I was made the COO, which basically means my role is to manage or to try to manage as efficiently as possible all the different parts of the company to make sure everybody's happy, working hard, listen to, and generally create a positive work environment so that everybody achieves the best they can.
Right, I try to do that too. So
Good, okay. Well, I think let's compare notes later.
So I'll just dive right into why we're here.
Okay.
So PFD is about to launch their own digital publishing or agent-assisted publishing imprint, right?
Yes.
So what was your thinking behind that? What drove you to launch this?
Well, at the start of the year, we were looking at these estates that we represent, like Eric Ambler, Marjorie Allingham, and John Creasy, and we were seeing that we have an agent who represents all those and works for the estates, and we were seeing quite a clear pattern. There were traditional print publishers who liked, of a collection of say 20 books, they liked 5 of those books, they put them into print. They may then put 10 as ebooks, and then there's a lot remaining, right, which we believe was of equal quality. So we thought, and still I think with print publishers, the ebook is the sort of the poor cousin of the print edition. So we thought we would take control of this in a very agenting sort of a way, and we thought we'd be much more proactive. So we thought, why not essentially assist these estates in creating a higher profile for content that is not being exploited, but also so that can feed into the other print editions and other editions of the book. So we thought this is where I think it's different perhaps from a digital publisher, because what we will be doing here, and we'll be doing this with frontlist authors as well, is we promote all books written in all editions. So we will have our digital publishing or author assisted, it's called IPSO, and we will obviously have IPSO books, but we will also promote books by other publishers and in print and in foreign language. So that really is promoting the brand of the writer rather than just the books that we have.
Right, and so why the name IPSO? Is there a story behind that?
Well, yes, it's one of those things that seemed a good idea at the time, and I hope it remains. But IPSO is Latin for self.
Yep.
So we thought it's a kind of a way to lead back to the author, because it is a way of assisting the self to be promoted. So that's where it came from. For better or for worse, so we have our logo now, so we're very excited.
That's really nice. That's really great. So I'm just gonna go back to those literary estates, because that's how we get in
Yes.
touch, really.
Yes.
So you had this Marjorie Allingham estate, and you wanted
Yes.
to rebrand it to put it there on the digital stores and have
Yes.
covers made. So how did you first hear about us, about Reedsy?
Well, we started thinking about IPSO in January, and we had a very steep learning curve. I think, like a lot of these things, you think you know a lot more than you do, and then when you start to do something about it, you have to learn very quickly. And one of the bedrocks and the foundations of digital publishing is quality. Your product has to be perfect, essentially. Because it's a very competitive market, and I think you've got much less time to attract, the reader or the consumer. So clearly, and I think what's missing sometimes with ebooks is that the quality of the jacket is not where it should be. So I essentially just did some digging, and who kept coming up were Reedsy. So this was leading into the book fair, and then we met at the book fair, London Book Fair. So I looked at a few different websites, and yours was the most appealing, the most user-friendly, which for me is very important. And also the people you have on your books were very interesting. So yes, right from get-go, it was a very positive experience for us, and really quite easy to focus on you, because I think you are by far the best.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, be honest. Eh?
No. Listen, I wouldn't say it if it wasn't true. Yeah,
Great,
I
thank you.
would.
And so you asked a few designers on Reedsy. You asked me for a recommendation, so
Yes.
I was happy to make one, and I recommended you a few designers.
Yes.
And you asked for quotes and maybe
Yes.
feedback and information, and you finally chose Ben McLeod, right?
Yes, that's right. I suppose in one way, and this is where being maybe a bigger agency or having literary estates, we had 11 titles from the Allingham estate, which we only have ebook rights to in the US. So they're sold exclusively in the US. So I think in one way that's it's daunting but quite exciting for a jacket designer to go, it's just not one book with one author. You're dealing with a whole range of titles and dealing with different people, because obviously this is part of an estates group as well. So we had to fit in with what the estate wanted. So it's quite a big challenge. But Ben, right from get-go, did very, very well. Very patient. We had a lot of changes. He was very good.
Yeah, no, he's a great designer, and I mean, when I recommended him, we have some other designers on Reedsy who specialize more on crime, on thrillers, and he was maybe not that specialized on it, but I remember you immediately liked his art and were really looking forward to seeing what he would come up to for Martin.
Yes, we really liked his art, and then we spoke with him and really liked him as well. And yes, thank you very much for the shortlist. It was very helpful to have a shortlist that actually, I mean, they were all very good, but he sort of stood out for us, and I think, we were new essentially to this industry. So it was good that he was quite new, and I think together we created something really special. But I think it was we were very lucky to find him. That was great.
I think I was lucky as well. Yeah, he loves. I know he loves working on book covers, and he doesn't always get the chance to do that. So
yes, and we'll be using him again because we've got lots of estates there. So if he's willing, which I hope he is.
Perfect.
Ben, if you're out there, please come back. So shall I show you some?
Yeah, show us the covers, because they all.
So
have
there's a real
colors.
range. What we liked, Allingham, it is crime, but there's a kind of it's a nearly cozy crime with this book. So we really wanted to have a sinister aspect, but also to have some colour, and also what was important for us is there's that contrast between scary and also not horror. And I think these also as thumbnails look fantastic. So, and because there's a series of them, we wanted to make them to have thematically look similar, but also to be individual. And I think that's another aspect of what Ben has done that's worked really well.
Yeah, there's a great branding aspect, I think, on the typography and the font that he used.
Yes, he's a nice style of working. There's a kind of a sponge effect that he uses, and you can see through his work. there's aspects. I mean, it's the same as any creative process. One book that he'd send in the first draft, and it would be perfect, and everybody would be happy. And then towards the end, there were just one or two titles, and we spent a long time getting it right. In fact, I'm going to show you one more, because this one with the houses was very difficult to get right. So we were very pleased that was done in the end.
All right, so now I'm gonna focus a little bit more again on IPSO and ask you, how does it work? What is the deal for a frontlist author now who is published through IPSO?
Yes, we're looking for frontlist now, genre specific at the moment, but we want to branch out to do a series of non-fiction titles. We're going to really experiment with form and length, so we want to do some short book series. The Dresden book did very well, which was 20,000 words. So we are definitely looking to do a series of non-fiction books. So we'll be looking to work with journalists or people or historians, young historians we'd like to do. We give a 50-50 split on our contract. What we provide, and again, I suppose in the lucky position of being backed by the agency, we have a social media consultant who we give her services for free. She'll help anybody. We build websites for people. People can know nothing about social media, so we literally tell people how to tweet. If you need a Facebook page, all those things, and she will sort of do a masterclass at the beginning and then monitor that. We've got a digital marketing consultant who really was brought in to teach us as well how to maximize it. And he, again, will help with campaigns to sell books. And we do now, because of the sheer volume, do have a jacket designer on a retainer of doing a small number of jackets, but nowhere near enough to do all our books. And actually, we don't want them to look all the same, so we want to continue to use different people. And yes, editorially, we through word of mouth have got some editors, but we are not at the editorial stage quite yet, because we've been dealing with literary estates. So we've been converting print editions, because all these books are only available in print. However, we do have a sort of psychological thriller trilogy which has just been delivered, so we will that's our first editing process, and there'll be more coming soon. So
we're here for that.
Yes, exactly.
Excellent. And so you pay IPSO pays for the editing and the design, right?
Yes, we do.
And then you help on the marketing as well, and there's a 50-50 split on ebook royalties.
Yes.
So is it going to be E only, E first?
We would like to get into print on demand as well.
Right.
But at the moment, it's E only that we're focusing on. Absolutely.
I think that's right, and it makes sense, especially if you focus on genre fiction, as you said, or certain non-fiction titles. I'll have a question for you later on maybe standalone genre fiction books.
Sure.
So you said a little bit about what you're going to do in terms of marketing for your authors. Can you get more specific into that? Because I think that's your main value add for an author being published by IPSO. First, there's the curation. There's the fact that this comes from, hopefully in a few years, a renowned digital publisher. And then there's the help with the marketing, which is crucial. So maybe
yes, we do pay for Facebook ads for our authors, and we experiment with how that works. We're still trying to work out the best way, but that is something that we find certainly with developing our mailing list. That's had a big impact on that. Depending on, again, specific at the moment to literary estates, we have a lot of content, so then you can give away free books. We've done groups of 3 box sets, which we've found very useful. So really, they're the kind of areas that we're looking at. Obviously, the price promotions, we meet directly with Amazon, we meet directly with iBooks, so we go in and talk about what we've coming up. We've got Book of the Ambler books, or Book of the Week this week in Amazon and also on iBook. So we I think because we had dealt with them previously in what was known as White Glove, which was the agent aspect of Amazon, we have a good relationship with the retailers, and that's helpful for us in it's interesting because I think iBooks are much more editorially led, so they like to choose books that they read,
Yes.
and whereas Amazon is much more about the pitch and what why and obviously also getting the reviews is the thing that's hard as well.
Yeah, no, I've heard about iBooks, and they've got these like banners, like the pick of the week, and that's what really
Yes.
really sells. So
Yes.
if you're able to guarantee them a certain level of quality through IPSO, and then you have the relationship with the retailer,
Yes.
then it's a huge plus for
Exactly.
authors who really have a hard time breaking into iBooks.
Yes, and I think iBooks is still trying to work out who they are and what
Yes.
they want to do as well. And I think that the market is dominated by Amazon, and I think that's always the best place to start if you want to try and sell as many books as possible. But it's good to go beyond that too. Sometimes exclusivity with them helps, because then they'll help promote you more.
Yeah.
The good thing that we've found with Amazon is that actually they are happy to negotiate how long something is exclusive for. So we've given them, they're giving us more flexibility, and I think this is something that's emerging as digital publishing becomes more sophisticated, that they're seeing, I think everybody is seeing, that you have to be more flexible about what you produce and how you sell it, and I think that's good for authors. I think the retailers are realizing that there's many ways to do this and not just one way.
Definitely. And about this mailing list for IPSO books, are you going to be, is it going to be segmented by genre, or one big mailing list for all IPSO books, for all new releases?
It will be by genre.
Good.
Yeah, that's how we want to keep it for sure.
Excellent. So you're going to start maybe first with psychological thrillers.
On our front list, yes, we have commissioned. Initially, we're looking within PFD clients, but that's just because we have access to them.
Yes.
Actually, what we've seen quite early on is it's hard to approach all published authors with ideas, because they're existing authors think that we're going to possibly dilute the brand or conflict with the book being published.
Yeah.
And I think, again, going to how digital publishing is going to progress, I think publishers are, traditional publishers are going to have to see that actually digital publishing, original ebooks, are not a threat, but this is a reality of the marketplace, and they're going to have to work together. I know some, for example, will do an e-edition first before they publish in hardback, and I think what's going to happen is you will have e-authors that may only wish to exist as e-authors, and that will be enough, and you'll have e-editions of a book, but you'll have an author who's an IPSO e-author for one series, and maybe have a print publisher in a different.
Yeah, definitely. I think it works. You can have different books, and then and some are more fitted for the e-format only. Some really the print book, and it's good for the author even to experiment and see what works.
Well, I think also for ebooks, the important thing is the length of the book.
Yes.
I think not just for traditionally print editions have been 80,000 words or 90,000 words, because that's the size that somebody feels if they pick up a book that's the right length.
Yeah.
Whereas really what they're happy to read is maybe 60,000 words, which you can get in an e-edition, and nobody is worried about that length. So I think that's good when you come to genre fiction, when you want a lot of content quickly. But also I think you can take that further we are starting to look at experimenting with fiction, and maybe having a serial that just keeps running week after week or month after month, and that people buy it for a little bit of money, and then it slowly grows to be a complete series. But we're still working on that, so we'll see what happens. So it's kind of like a print edition of The Archers or something, something that people want to read maybe even twice a week, and the story develops. But we'll see.
Yeah. And so my question now about these standalone genre fiction books, so self-publishing has been very interesting in its developments, but it really works well for series in genre fiction.
Yeah.
Like if we had to, say a little bit. How about a standalone genre fiction book? Is it possible for a self-publishing author to have a success with that, or is it something that you could help with?
I think the time is definitely coming, and I think what's important is that I think genre fiction has really laid the foundation of people having to sit up and pay attention to ebooks. We've had big successes of books that authors that have sold well as ebooks and then gone into print. And I think what's going to happen is that there is going to be a breakthrough author or a breakthrough book that will be standalone and will succeed. And I think this will happen not just because of the attention paid to ebooks, but also now with digital publishers coming through and more people creating more books, and less people be thinking print is, the be all and end all of everything, or ebooks are just as valid. And I know, talking to retailers, they definitely feel that. And I think the same as for non-fiction, maybe even more. I think you'll have a big history book that may initially come out as an ebook, and that will be great for us all. I'd be delighted when that day comes.
All right. Well, now to finish this interview, I'd like to go maybe on a more general note about the role of the agent moving forwards. So how do you see? Do you think it's mostly going to be about selling rights, or is there going to be more coaching, more advice, or even, as we can see with IPSO, publishing and marketing?
I think for us, it's definitely redefined that author-agent relationship and made it much more symbiotic and much more equal. I think from what I see with IPSO, we are actively and actually investing in an author. Before, we made money on commission, and obviously the money is the same, but initially now we are actually taking something and investing our money in making that happen, and I think that's a very exciting prospect, and I'm confident that will lead to perhaps, and I would say this, much more interesting and much more varied content. I think in some ways, of course we will continue to sell to publishing houses, and most publishers or all publishers do certain things extremely well. But I think maybe the ebook is something that publishers have shied away from a little bit and don't quite know what to do with it. So I think, with agents or us with IPSO helping the author, that will still potentially lead that author to a publisher as well, a print publisher, and why not? We'd be very happy with that.
Definitely.
So I think it's empowering the author at an earlier stage. I hope that's what I aim.
I definitely think so, and that's why I found this initiative so interesting. I think you've shown here at PFD a tremendous capacity to innovate and to be creative about publishing, even if you're an established literary agency. And so I'm really happy that I could interview you here today, Robert.
Oh, thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure.
Thanks.
Thank you.